cares about what he does, and that's why he's the best at it.
Fuck was there?
In 1956 in Chicago, an elderly man named Leonard Burling owned a modest, quiet clothing shop. Leonard was not originally from the United States. He was a British citizen who had relocated to America several years earlier. Before moving, he spent many years working at one of the most respected fashion houses in London. After leaving England for personal reasons, he settled in Chicago and opened his own tailor shop. He later hired a young woman named Mabel Shawn to work as his assistant. Leonard often explained the secrets behind making the best clothing. He said the first step was measurement. Getting it right mattered more than anything. You had to understand who you were making the garment for before you ever started cutting fabric. Mabel helped him around the shop, greeting customers and tending to their needs, while Leonard did the careful work. He took measurements with precision and studied his customers closely, paying attention to how they carried themselves, what they favored, and what they tried to hide.
Does he stand with confidence?
Leonard's shop quickly became well known throughout Chicago for the quality of its clothing. Wealthy families in the city regularly visited the store and relied on it for custom suits and tailoring. Among these regular customers was the Beale family, a powerful and influential mafia organization in Chicago. The Boyles frequently came to the shop, sometimes to place clothing orders and other times to collect messages sent through the shop's mailbox. Leonard had intentionally placed this mailbox in his store, presenting it as a way for customers to leave notes or tips, though it served another purpose. One evening, the Beale family's only son, Richie Beale, arrived at the shop to retrieve letters from their contact. He was accompanied by a trusted associate named Francis. Leonard remained calm and focused on his tailoring work, showing no interest in their presence or in the letters they collected. Richie, however, spoke with him, asking if the suit he was making was for his father. When Leonard told him it was not, Richie asked who it was being made for. While sorting through the messages, Francis discovered a letter sent by a criminal group known as the Outfit. Because of the sensitive nature of the letter, Richie asked Leonard to step out of the room for a while so they could discuss it.
Will you excuse me, gentlemen?
The Outfit, man.
While Leonard waited in the lobby, he noticed a box and asked Mabel what was inside. Mabel showed him a small gift shaped like a snow globe that featured London. She explained that it came from someone she knew. Mabel enjoyed collecting snow globes that displayed famous landmarks and cities around the world, such as Paris, London, and Barcelona, because she dreamed of traveling beyond Chicago one day. She also expressed her surprise that Leonard, who had the ability to live and work anywhere, had chosen Chicago as his home. Leonard asked her what was wrong with Chicago. Mabel explained that she disliked the city and insisted she would leave it and travel someday.
And Madrid, and Barcelona, and Morocco, and to Paris.
After Richie and Francis finished their business and left the shop, Leonard and Mabel stayed behind folding garments. As they worked, Leonard spoke privately with Mabel. He mentioned that a man who worked at the clock shop next door had asked to be introduced to her. Mabel showed no interest in the idea because she was already emotionally involved with someone else.
The one with the little mustache?
Yes, like Errol Flynn.
I do not need you telling me who to date.
Leonard slowly came to the conclusion that Mabel had developed a personal connection with Richie Beale. He had noticed the way they behaved around each other and recognized the subtle but familiar signs of flirting. While carefully folding a piece of cloth, Leonard warned Mabel to remain cautious, explaining that Richie belonged to a mafia family known for violence and the frequent use of weapons. Mabel admitted that she understood how dangerous the Beale family was.
I've spent my entire life around animals like Richie Beale. You want to get him to back off, you look him dead in the eyes and you pretend you're one of them.
During their conversation, Mabel told Leonard that she knew he wanted her to become like him, to train under him and grow into a great tailor. She explained, however, that she would never truly become like him and that she planned to leave this place someday. Leonard told her that she was entitled to be herself and that he did not need her to follow in his footsteps. As they spoke, Leonard noticed she was not folding the garment properly, and he pointed it out. He told her that a raise would only be possible if she improved her skills, especially in basic tasks such as folding clothes correctly. After the shop closed for the night, Mabel went home, while Leonard stayed behind, continuing to work late into the night night inside the shop. Later that night, Leonard fell asleep at his desk and drifted into a dream filled with images of fire and loss. He was suddenly awakened by the sound of the shop door opening. The voices belonged to Mabel and Richie, who had come to the shop together to spend time in private. This confirmed Leonard's earlier suspicion that the two were romantically involved.
I just said don't touch anything!
As they talked, Richie shared information with Mabel about Francis, his adopted brother. He explained that Francis believed someone within the Boyle organization was secretly betraying them by passing information to a rival mafia group known as La Fontaine. Richie openly expressed his dislike for Francis, admitting that he felt resentment because his father, Roy Boyle, trusted Francis more than his own son. Richie did not consider Francis's family, viewing him instead as a stranger who had once saved his father's life. He believed his father's loyalty to Francis came from a sense of obligation rather than genuine affection.
Pops listens to you. Don't worry about Francis. Who cares about Francis?
Leonard quietly listened to all of this from the other room. He accidentally dropped an object, creating a sound that alerted Mabel and Richie to his presence. Acting quickly, Leonard returned to his seat and pretended to be asleep. To avoid causing trouble, Mabel guided Richie out of the shop so Leonard would not be disturbed.
Wake him up.
The next morning, Mabel joined Leonard, and they began serving their customers as usual, and letters once again started arriving at the shop. A few days later, Richie and Francis returned to the tailor shop to collect mail, as they did every week. That night, they discovered another envelope from the outfit, which contained both a letter and a cassette tape. After finding it, they left immediately to report the discovery to Roy Boyle. Later that same evening, Richie and Francis rushed back to Leonard's shop in a state of panic. Francis was supporting Richie, who had been shot in the stomach. Francis checked to see if the shop was empty before they went inside. He carried the injured Richie into the back room of the shop, where Leonard normally worked, desperately seeking help. Francis asked Leonard to apply pressure to Richie's wound and to hold him tightly. He blamed Richie for hesitating to shoot the men who attacked them. He warned Leonard that people would come looking for the briefcase containing the tape and that they needed to keep it safe.
There are 1,000 blue boys out there hunting for this. And if they find it, I start shooting, you follow?
Later, Francis contacted Roy Boyle and informed him that both he and Richie had been attacked by the La Fontaine mob group. He explained that they were hiding inside Leonard's tailor shop and that Richie had been seriously wounded. Roy responded that he would come to the shop as soon as possible to retrieve them. Richie asked Francis to take him home, but Francis refused, saying Roy had told him to wait there. Richie and Francis argued, and Francis made it clear that he worked for Roy, not for Richie.
Nobody knows where the dock is. Pops is gonna come down here himself, but it's gonna take a while.
Seeing that Richie was losing a lot of blood, Francis ordered Leonard to sew the gunshot wound in Richie's stomach to stop the bleeding. Leonard hesitated at first, explaining that he was not a doctor and had never treated an injury like this before. However, drawing on limited experience from his past, including moments connected to combat situations, he eventually agreed to help. The procedure was excruciating, and Richie lost consciousness as Leonard stitched the wound without any form of anesthesia. Despite the difficulty, Leonard managed to close the injury and stop the bleeding, his hands steady even as Richie's body slackened. Once the wound was taken care of, Francis sealed the cassette tape into the suitcase. He asked Leonard to watch over Richie for a short time while he stepped out. Leonard refused and insisted that Francis take Richie with him, making it clear that he did not want to become involved in the Boyle family's violent affairs. Leonard wanted to be left alone and to keep his shop separate from their business. Francis told him he was already involved and was now part of the family. Francis continued to argue that Richie needed to stay, explaining that Leonard's shop was the only safe place available at the moment.
Don't judge, I just don't want to be involved in whatever it is you do.
Francis then explained that he had to leave immediately to find a cassette player. He revealed that the tape contained recordings from illegal wiretaps involving a member of the Boyle family. Francis believed that someone close to the family was secretly working with the FBI and had planted a listening device in a location the Boyles frequently used. He also explained that he and Richie had originally planned to listen to the tape somewhere else, but they were ambushed by the La Fontaine group before they could do so, resulting in Richie's injury. Because several mafia organizations wanted the tape in order to destroy the Boyle family, Francis felt it was urgent to listen to the recording and identify the traitor.
Because if I get back, and that tape isn't sitting right there,
Francis warned Leonard that many people were looking for the tape and that it was vital to keep it safe. He told Leonard that Roy would be there in a few hours. Leonard asked what he should do if the police came, and Francis coldly told him to get rid of them. Not long after Francis left the shop, Leonard noticed blood on the suit he had been working on, and he began replacing the stained fabric with a clean piece. Soon after, Richie regained consciousness. Richie thanked Leonard for saving his life, his voice weak but sincere. Richie asked for water, and Leonard brought it to him.
After everything your father's done for this neighbor.
When Richie asked about Francis's whereabouts, Leonard told him Francis had already gone to look for a cassette player, and he mentioned that Francis believed the betrayer might be within the family. Leonard told Richie that his father was a good man. Remembering that Roy had been his first customer when Leonard opened the shop, Richie said he remembered that day and how his father had come home excited, talking about a tailor who had come from London. Richie explained that Roy cared about clothes and appearance, and that he often told him a well-tied tie was the first serious step in life.
Taught me how to tie a tie for the first time when I was 4.
No. 4.
Leonard then asked Richie if he had any suspicions about who the traitor might be. Richie said he did not have any suspicions, but Leonard pressed him, saying he must have someone in mind. He added that the person responsible was likely someone very close to the Boyle family, even if they were not officially a member of it.
I'm the rat.
After that, Leonard calmly sat back in his chair, handling fabric as if the room were empty, and stated that he was the one who had passed information to their enemies and that he had helped the feds plant a bug on them. Richie paused in silence, then broke into laughter, assuming Leonard was making a joke. Leonard laughed as well and continued stitching as if nothing serious had been said. Richie dismissed the idea, asking why Leonard would joke about something like that. Leonard asked why Richie thought he could not be the betrayer. Richie explained that Leonard was only a simple tailor and could not possibly be involved in mafia betrayals.
I absolutely could be the rat.
Not a chance.
Leonard corrected him and explained that he was not a tailor, but a cutter, emphasizing that the two roles were very different. He said anyone could call themselves a tailor if they had thread and a needle, but becoming a cutter required years of study and discipline. Leonard described how he had trained for a long time at an elite fashion house on Savile Row, spending years as an apprentice before earning the right to open his own shop.
So you thought that a bunch of fancy pants in England couldn't appreciate the finer things, so you came to Chicago.
Richie asked why he moved to Chicago, and Leonard explained that he came because of the war. He said that after the war, men in London could not afford well-made things anymore, and a new fashion called blue jeans began to spread. Leonard explained that soon something would trend, people would chase it, and everyone would start wearing it. He said what he made was timeless and not built on a simple trend. Leonard told Richie he hoped his cousin was all right. Richie then explained that Francis was not his family, but rather a stranger his father had taken in from the streets.
I do hope your cousin's all right.
My cousin.
After this, Leonard returned to the subject of Francis, suggesting that Francis's strong desire to uncover a traitor might indicate that Francis himself could be the betrayer. Leonard then told Richie he should not fear Francis betraying him, and he spoke with the confidence of someone who enjoyed shaping the direction of the conversation. Soon after, Francis returned to the shop. Before Francis spoke with Richie, Leonard quietly told Francis that Richie suspected him of betrayal and had looked inside the suitcase Francis left behind. This revealed that Leonard was deliberately manipulating both men, nudging them into distrust and suspicion, and setting them against each other.
Try as I might, I can't seem to convince you that I am.
Influenced by Leonard's earlier words, Richie began questioning Francis, asking why he was the only one shot during the ambush while Francis escaped unharmed. Francis responded that he had simply been fortunate that night. Richie demanded to know where Francis had been, and Francis explained that he had gone out looking for a tape player and had found one, and that he planned to take the cassette there to play it. Richie insisted on going with him, but Francis told him he was not in good shape to go out there, not with his wound and his condition the way it was.
I'm gonna need that tape, pal, right now.
Francis then insisted that they should play the tape immediately, but Richie stopped him and said they should wait for his father, who was expected to arrive soon. Richie said he wanted to wait, unless Francis was trying to make sure Roy never heard what was on that tape. Francis told Richie he was going to take the tape and leave. The argument over the tape intensified, and the tension between them escalated into a physical struggle. During the chaos, they discovered that the suitcase was empty. Realizing this, Richie drew his gun and aimed it at Francis. Richie demanded to know where the tape was. Francis told him he was stupid if he thought he could force a confession like this, and he insisted that he was loyal to Roy. Richie admitted he had hated Francis since day one. Francis fired back that he was the one standing beside Roy, cleaning up what needed to be cleaned up, while Richie went around making a mess of everything. Richie's attention shifted for a moment during the argument. Francis fired next, striking Richie in the neck and killing him instantly. Francis told Richie he did not die because he was slow or arrogant, and that he did not die because he made a mistake in the moment. He died because he was weak, and Francis shot him again.
It was because you're weak.
Leonard froze in shock. Francis asked Leonard where the tape was, but Leonard said he did not know. Francis quickly searched for the tape that Richie had supposedly hidden, but he could not find anything. Not long after, Roy Boyle arrived at Leonard's shop with his men. Francis appeared nervous and immediately asked Leonard to help him hide Richie's body and delay Roy's entry so he could clean the blood from the floor. Francis started scraping the blood away while Leonard went to answer the door. Leonard greeted Roy, and Roy thanked him for standing by him and his family, saying they would not forget this. By the time Roy stepped inside and reached the back where Francis was, the blood had been removed, and Francis had enough time to invent a story to explain Richie's absence. Roy asked where Richie was, and Francis told him that Richie had taken a tape connected to the outfit and left to find him. Roy demanded to know why Francis had not followed him, but Francis explained that Richie was not willing to listen and told him to wait there while he went out to look for his father.
In this situation was to stay right here and in case you turned up.
Roy made several calls but could not find Richie. He worried about his missing son and the missing tape. Francis suggested they go look for Richie, but Roy ordered Francis to go out and find his son, while Roy stayed behind in case Richie returned, or in case the people he called contacted him with information. Francis hesitated at first, terrified Roy might discover his dead son's body, but he eventually left. While waiting, Roy remained in the shop and spoke with Leonard.
You learn how to do all this on the road?
Yes, sir.
Roy's eyes moved around the room until they landed on a suit. He asked Leonard why he had moved to Chicago, and Leonard told him he moved because of blue jeans. Roy laughed at the response. As if it were a clever answer, he could not decide whether to accept. Roy then looked at Leonard's shears and proceeded to show him his gun, saying that this was his tool. He compared the men he killed to pieces of fabric tossed away when making a suit, suggesting it was necessary to shape the neighborhood he was building.
No, with this I've built loyalty, I've built a crew, I've built a neighborhood.
Roy then started telling Leonard about an organization called The Outfit. He explained that The Outfit was the largest criminal organization in the world, with operations spread across Europe and the United States. Roy said the Boyle family had been offered an alliance with them because the Boyles were the only group willing to openly fight LaFontaine. As part of this support, The Outfit had provided an FBI wiretapping recording to help identify a traitor within the Boyle family.
Gets into the wrong hands, and the entire thing comes crashing down.
Leonard appeared confused and asked why Roy was sharing such sensitive information with him, since Roy had never spoken about mafia matters in front of him before. Roy then revealed that he had already realized Richie had never left the shop. Richie's coat was still hanging inside, and Roy knew his son would never go out in winter without it. This made Roy certain that Leonard was hiding something. He asked Leonard where Richie was. He called one of his men over, and the man pointed a gun at Leonard and demanded the truth. Leonard mentioned that Francis had warned him not to tell the truth, saying Leonard would be in danger if he spoke.
Who walks out into the cold in December in Chicago without his coat?
Before Leonard could respond, Francis suddenly entered the room while holding Mabel. Roy demanded that Leonard tell him the truth while Francis kept Mabel at gunpoint. Fearing that Mabel might be harmed, Leonard quickly invented a story. He claimed that Richie had felt ashamed because Francis had killed several men from the rival group while Richie had not. According to Leonard, Richie left to confront LaFontaine's people on his own to prove himself to his father. Leonard added that Richie had ordered him not to mention this earlier, so Roy would not worry.
Yes, we did. I'm sorry, Mr. Boyle.
Francis claimed that Richie had stopped at Roy. Then Roy questioned why Francis had brought Mabel to the shop. Francis explained that Richie might have gone to Mabel's apartment because she was his girlfriend. Roy questioned Mabel about Richie's location, but she said she did not know where he was. Francis interrupted and stated that he had noticed a blood stain on Mabel's carpet, suggesting that Richie had been injured there. Mabel told Roy that was a lie. Roy asked Mabel who she was, and he realized he had known her late father.
He's a real tough guy, your dad.
I wouldn't know. He wasn't really around much.
Growing angry and impatient, Roy began pressuring Mabel aggressively to tell the truth. Francis claimed that Mabel might be the one ratting them out, since she was involved in a romantic relationship with Richie. Leonard told Francis he had known Mabel for years and was certain she was not the one betraying them. Francis, however, started beating Mabel while questioning her, striking her as if violence could produce answers. Leonard stepped in and physically stopped Francis, trying to calm him down and pull him away. Roy and Francis ignored Leonard's protest and dragged Mabel into one of the rooms.
We'll clean up after.
Leonard felt sick from everything he was holding inside and decided to step out for air. Francis saw him heading for the door and stopped him, and Roy told Leonard that no one was leaving until they found Richie. Leonard said he was tired and needed to leave, telling Roy to do what he needed to do to find his son. Leonard told Roy that he knew how he was feeling right now, that he understood what it was like to search for someone and feel the ground slipping away beneath you. He then admitted he had not come to Chicago because of blue jeans. He told them that he once had a wife and a daughter, and that both had died in a fire. Because of that loss, he now thought of Mabel as his own child, and he could not watch her be destroyed.
You can hurt young Mabel. You can hurt me.
At that moment, the phone rang, and Leonard answered it. He told Roy the call was from Richie, who claimed he was hiding from LaFontaine and asked to be picked up at a specific street location. Hearing this, Roy decided to go and get him with his men.
Let's get to it.
Francis chose to stay behind, saying he would keep an eye on Leonard and Mabel in case they were lying. Roy agreed and left Francis behind while he went out to look for Richie. After Roy left, Leonard revealed the truth. He admitted that he had deliberately given a false address so that LaFontaine's men would ambush Roy and his crew.
Boyle is about to walk directly into an ambush.
Who's ambushing him?
The LaFontaine.
Leonard then revealed that Mabel was the traitor they had been searching for from the beginning. After becoming closely involved with Richie, she gained frequent access to private information about the Boyle family. She used these opportunities to collect details and secretly pass them to the LaFontaine group in exchange for money. Aware that the Boyle family would eventually uncover her actions, Mabel turned to the FBI for protection. She worked with them to arrange wiretaps and planned for the arrest of the entire Boyle family, believing this would keep her safe once they were taken away.
You got your hustle, I got mine.
Leonard had known about Mabel's actions all along and chose not to interfere. He understood that her motivation was money and her desire to travel the world. Francis was stunned to find out Mabel was the one ratting them out this whole time. When Francis demanded to know if she had taken the tape, Leonard explained that he was responsible for hiding the tapes and that he had done it to shield Mabel from immediate danger.
You knew what I was doing, and instead of stopping me, you helped.
Yes.
Thank you. I can take care of myself.
Leonard then proposed an idea. Mabel would call LaFontaine and tell them Francis's location so they would come and attack him. Francis resisted, saying he would not betray Roy like that. Leonard told him it was either that or Roy would find out Richie was dead and he would kill them all. Cornered by the choice and the fear of what Roy would do, Francis finally gave Mabel permission to call LaFontaine.
LaFontaine wants to make a deal. Tape for cash. 1 hour.
Mabel made a deal with LaFontaine to exchange the tape for cash. Not long after, LaFontaine and his men arrived at the shop to pay Mabel for the tape. Before the exchange happened, Francis instructed Leonard and Mabel to use a coded signal once LaFontaine handed over the money. This was meant to allow Francis to leave the back room and kill LaFontaine. After LaFontaine arrived, they took the tape and paid Mabel the agreed amount. However, Leonard and Mabel betrayed Francis and secretly informed LaFontaine of his location. Francis jumped out to kill LaFontaine. He pointed his gun at LaFontaine. When Leonard told LaFontaine that he had emptied Francis's gun earlier, Francis was shot multiple times by LaFontaine's men and left to die.
But nobody stopped to think what's going on in his head.
Once LaFontaine and his crew departed, Leonard told Mabel the full truth. He admitted that he had personally recorded the tape and placed it in the mailbox under the name of the outfit to manipulate the Boyle family. The tape given to LaFontaine earlier was fake, containing only Leonard's recorded voice. Leonard had been recording the scene happening that night, preserving it so Mabel could eventually hand it over to the FBI. This would allow law enforcement to dismantle both the Boyle family and the LaFontaine group.
Enough to convict any remaining Boyles of a dozen crimes and Madame LaFontaine.
Leonard encouraged Mabel to leave Chicago and travel the world using the money she had received. Mabel asked him to come with her and travel, but Leonard refused, saying she should not waste her youth taking care of an old man. Mabel finally said goodbye and left. That same night, Leonard packed his belongings and deliberately set his shop on fire to erase all remaining evidence. Unexpectedly, Frances, who was still alive, regained consciousness and fired at Leonard. The shot missed its mark and only wounded Leonard's arm. Francis realized his gun was out of bullets and took out a knife to stab him. Leonard then explained his true past to Francis. He admitted that he was once a violent man, much like Francis. Leonard rolled up his sleeve and showed him his tattooed arms. He explained that one day his former boss asked him to do something he was not comfortable doing, so he left and relocated to London. There, he met his wife, fell in love, and settled down to live a normal life. His old associates tracked him down and murdered his wife and daughter by setting their home on fire. Broken by this loss, Leonard moved to Chicago to start over and live differently. But on the first day he opened his shop, fate led him to the Boyle family.
My first day here, who did I meet?
Francis then tried to stab him, but Leonard managed to move aside and stabbed Francis in the neck with his shears. Francis died on the spot. Leonard walked away from his burning shop, leaving Chicago behind as he planned to begin a new and better life somewhere else.